Here are 18 of the most well-known ways to beat procrastination. So first, we're going to go on the 2-minute rule. This is basically where you just reduce the task that you're trying to do to only 2 minutes or less. So basically, it tricks your brain into thinking that the task is actually easy because it's only 2 minutes. And the thing is, most of the time, you'll actually want to do more than 2 minutes. And so that's why it's a great way to beat procrastination. This is a very effective tool. I rated 10 out of 10. I've used it myself. I recommend it often, and it really does work. Next, on to eat the frog. This is basically the exact opposite if you really think about it. It's basically the idea that do the hardest activity first in your day. So you just get rid of it. They use this analogy where it's like, if you had to eat a frog, wouldn't you do it at the beginning of your meal to get it out of the way? I think this is kind of a bad analogy because if I had to eat a frog, I'd probably wait until the end so I can procrastinate as much as possible on it. But it kind of works, to be honest. I mean, it's not really the best way to get out of procrastination, but it is a pretty good method and I use it pretty often. So 8 out of 10. Then we have the Pomodoro technique. This is very well known. It's just the idea that 25 minutes of work and then 5-minute breaks afterwards and just keep doing it indefinitely. And it's a pretty good method, but I mean, first of all, it's not really the best for being procrastination because you still have to do a pretty significant amount of work. And second of all, I don't really like how just forces you to not be focused, basically. You only focus for 25 minutes at a time, so it prevents you from ever getting in a deep flow state of work. You should really just focus for as long as you can, not just 25 minutes. So only 6 out of 10. Probably not really one of my favorites. Don't use it very much. Then time blocking. This is just the idea that block time, scheduling, basically. I mean, it's a fine method, but I don't really get how this is that effective for procrastination. I mean, I guess it kind of gives you extra urgency, but I mean, that's not really that useful of a method. A lot of people use time blocking and they still procrastinate. So I mean, 4 out of 10. Okay, so moving on to the Eisenhower matrix. Basically, the idea with this is you have these 4 quadrants and everything you do in a day, you group into one of these 4 quadrants. So the first one on the top left, it's stuff that's urgent and important. Second one is stuff that's just important but not urgent. Third is stuff that is urgent but not important. And then fourth is finally stuff that's neither urgent nor important. So basically just organizes all your stuff in the day. I don't think this is really that effective for beating procrastination. All this would really do is just show you that you have a lot of stuff you really need to do, to be honest, but it's a good method otherwise. Then onto the Ivy Lee method. It's just this very simple idea. Write down your 6 most important tasks, arrange them from most to least important, and just start doing it. I mean, it's basically just a to-do list. I do this pretty much every day. I don't really get how this helps you beat procrastination though. I mean, it's a good method, but again, not really helps for procrastination. Kind of same thing with Eat the Frog. It's you put the hardest thing or the most important thing first, which I don't think is really that effective. Okay, so then we have Parkinson's Law. This is basically the idea that work expands to fit the time that's allotted for it. So if you give yourself 10 minutes to do a homework assignment, you'll be able to do it in that 10 minutes. But if you give yourself an hour to do it, it's going to expand to fit that entire hour. It doesn't really work that simply, but it still works pretty effectively most times. If you have an hour to do something, you can often get it done in just that time. Whereas if you give yourself 2 hours, it's going to take that much amount of time. It's a very effective way to beat procrastination. And most people even just do this already when they wait until the last minute to do their assignment and then they have only a few hours to complete it. So yeah, people already know this kind of works. I mean, it's a very good motivator. So 8 out of 10. Then you got habit stacking. This is the amazing technique from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is just the idea that where you take a habit you already do every single day. It could be something like brushing your teeth or having coffee or playing video games, and you do some kind of habit you're trying to build right after that one. So you could, meditate right after drinking your cup of coffee every morning, for example. It's a very effective method. I've used myself to build some very strong habits that I still do to this day. And yeah, it can be a pretty effective way to beat procrastination too, because you just build this routine of doing the same thing, no matter if you want to or not, basically. Next, we have gamification. If you know anything about this channel, I love this method. It's basically one of my favorite ways to beat procrastination. It's basically this idea of making work feel like a video game. So this not only includes stuff like making stuff like progress bars and levels and rewarding yourself, but also other productivity techniques that can actually change the way you look at work and make it feel more like a video game. If you're actually interested in this, I have a full free guide in the description of this video that goes completely in depth into how to gamify literally anything and make it as fun as a video game. It's completely free to access right now if you just check the link in the description below. And yeah, obviously I'm pretty excited about this. 10 out of 10. It's worked extremely well for me and I love using it and helping other people too. Next, we have the not to do list. This is just the idea of having a list of stuff that you will not do. So it could be stuff like scrolling on your phone, for example. I don't really get how this beats procrastination. I mean, it's a good thing to do, but it doesn't really help at all with actual procrastination. I mean, you know what you're not supposed to do most of the time. It's just a matter of you actually getting yourself not to do it. So yeah, 6 out of 10, not really that helpful. Then we have 11, don't break the chain. This is also from Atomic Habits. This is just the idea of, every day working on your goal. So James Clear uses the example of Jerry Seinfeld, where every day he writes a joke. He doesn't miss a single day. He doesn't want to break the chain a single time. It's like Duolingo with your streak, basically. So yeah, this is a very effective method because, again, it makes yourself kind of like accountable for doing your work. Like, you don't want to mess up and completely ruin the chain of habits that you've been building. Then you have the just one thing method. This is where you just only choose one thing to do and just focus solely on that. This is kind of like the same with the 2-minute rule from before, where it's just you exclude all the unnecessary details and just focus on an extremely small amount of work, and it makes it feel like it's not as much. Not as effective as the 2-minute rule, but it's still pretty effective. This would help me a lot if I were to be procrastinating and want to fix it really quickly. So 7 out of 10. Then you have rewards and punishment. This is kind of along with gamification, but just the idea of rewarding or punishing yourself. Make your phone silent before recording videos. That's a good rule of thumb. So rewards and punishment. This is just the idea of rewarding or punishing yourself for certain activities. This goes along with gamification. It's very effective and it can really easily build habits. It's the only reason it's 9 out of 10 rather than 10 out of 10 is just because a lot of people really mess this up like terribly. So if you want more information on how to beat that, again, check the free guide down below. I go a little bit more into depth in that. And then we have a productive procrastination. This is just the idea of basically, when you're going to procrastinate, rather than like scrolling on your phone, instead do something like kind of productive, like maybe read a book for your procrastination. It's still procrastination. You're still not doing what you're supposed to be doing, but at least it's something that's kind of useful and not just like empty entertainment like scrolling on your phone. It's pretty effective. I mean, it isn't the best because you still aren't doing what you need to be doing, but it gets you like kind of building some momentum. So 7 out of 10. Then we have focus on the why. This is where you just focus on why you're doing the activity. Like maybe you need to do your homework because you're trying to get into a good school, or you're trying to get into a good career path, which will, change people's lives somewhere along the line. Very powerful method. More people need to do this. People neglect this so extremely much, and that's just a huge problem right now. 9 out of 10. Probably could be 10 out of 10 to be completely honest with you. I just didn't really feel like it's the best method because a lot of people really struggle with actually implementing this. Then we have the one touch rule. I actually had not heard of this before making this video, but it's like so good. It's just this idea of where you only focus on one thing and you make sure the activity is completely done before you focus on anything else. So for example, if you see an email, respond to the email right away. Don't leave this for later. I'm so guilty of looking at emails and just not responding to them until like days later. So this would like honestly help me a lot. I'm honestly want to like kind of implement this, to be honest. It would be a higher rating, but I just feel like this isn't really the best for like big tasks. Like you're not going to be able to finish your entire project for school the first time you look at it. You're probably going to need multiple days to work on that. So it can't really be used for everything. Then you have the batch method. This is where you just group activities together. So if you have to respond to a lot of emails, rather than like responding to them 5 times throughout the day, instead just take 20 minutes at the end of each day and just respond to all of them all in one go. Only a 5 out of 10 because while it's good, I don't really get what this has to do with procrastination. I mean, it's a good method, but not really anything with procrastination, at least in my mind. Then you have, finally, 18, watching productive YouTube videos. As I explained in the video from yesterday, this can be a good method, but often people do it way too much up until the point where it just becomes completely useless and you're not really getting any value. You're just straight up procrastinating. So not really a good method at all. If you want to be enjoying some kind of content that can actually help you stop procrastinating, check the link in the description for that free guide. Again, it's not a YouTube video. It's just straight up information, straight up knowledge on how to beat procrastination that actually goes into depth of to how to do this well, basically. So check that out if you want just a quick guide that can get you all the procrastination knowledge you need. Hope you enjoyed this video, and this has been Jimmy, signing off.